That's literally when I was in town.
Well, thank you. We enjoy it
That's what I was thinking. But it was great. I didn't get that for you. Your mom.
Hey Tom, it's on. I'm live. My mic is hot. Good morning on this crisp, clear, lovely Florida morning. My name is Steve Simon and I'm your worship associate. Okay. I'm your worship associate this morning here at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Venice, where we strive to be a beacon of liberal religion for Florida's Suncoast and a refuge for all who seek a welcoming community. No matter your color, creed, ability, or class, no matter who you love, your gender expression, political affiliation, or religious belief. Here we celebrate our differences as we learn from one another. If you'd like to know more about this congregation and its many opportunities for learning, growth, and connection, you can peruse our calendar and announcements on Facebook or on our webpage, uucov.org. If you're joining us online, please consider navigating over to our website, clicking the donate button there, and giving as generously as you can. We hope you'll find something in the service that speaks to you and maybe lifts you up to the or challenges you in ways that lead for spiritual reflection and personal growth. We're glad you've chosen to join us. Welcome to UCOV today. If you are visiting us for the first time, we would love to meet you. Anyone here visiting for the first time? Yes, if you'd like to, stand up and tell us who you are and where you're from, but you don't have to. You don't have to.
No pressure at all.
Okay.
Jim Walker, and from Maine.
Welcome, walkers from Maine. Anyone else, or anyone who's back for, has been away and is back? Okay. In terms of events, I'm just going to do the announcements briefly right now. First of all, there's going to be a little comment at the end of this, but there's going to be a meeting after the service because you're going to have a chance to vote on the amendment to the changes in the UU Article 2. And we just want to take a few minutes to explain that to you. But this is important, and I think it will clarify some of the things that have been a little bit confusing in the past. So I hope you'll come back for that. The other thing I want to say is that in terms of announcements, there's going to be John Van Camp. Do you want to come up quickly and say something about the walk to freedom?
Sure. I hope you can hear me, whatever. One more time, just to talk about... All right. All right, again, John Van Camp. I'm on the Venice Interfaith Community Association Board, along with Reverend Amy. And just to remind everyone, it was UCOB that started this many years ago. So, yes, they're having a winter series, but one aspect of the winter series I want to highlight. This is a walk to respect. It was a play that was done in the Kennedy Center with somebody portraying Lincoln and somebody portraying Douglas, who had different approaches to the social issues at the time. But they had a respect for each other, and they found commonality. And that's what this is. It's a walk to respect, and afterwards, it's an hour-long video, and afterwards, the playwright and the actors will come out and talk to the audience about what we're doing of addressing a walk to respect now. Oh, there are flyers, lots of flyers in the back. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, John. And I just want to say that Jan and I saw this performed up at UU Sarasota a couple of months ago. It's really excellent. Also, as a former history teacher, I want to say, when he says Lincoln and Douglas, that refers to Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, not the Lincoln and Douglas debates. That was a different Douglas. This is the better Douglas, believe me. All right. So I'm going to light, by the way, this is only the second time I've done this, so if I get this out of order or something, don't hesitate to correct it. Thank you. I'm counting on that from everybody. So, lighting the chalice. We light this chalice. We light this chalice, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intent.
Lisa, go ahead.
You hear a lot about the idea of CRT. How many of you have heard that on the news or on somewhere, CRT, especially down here in Florida where it doesn't seem to be very popular? Reverend Dr. Mark Hicks is a professor at RUU Seminary, Meadville Lombard Theological School, and he is a deep thinker, a theologian, and a really wonderful man. And he says, scientists have recently confirmed what progressive theologians and philosophers have known for years. Race is a product of the human imagination, not biological science. And all you have to do is look at a litter of kittens that come in all different colors to know that they're all still just kittens, right? Mark writes, at the same time, however, we know that while any theory of race is a social construction, individuals and groups around the world feel the experience of racism harshly. Racism as such informs our psychological state, personality structure, the institutional and social values that shape our working lives, the view of how we interpret the world, and even the value we place on human life. And all these things matter to us a lot as Unitarian Universalists and as human beings. Critical race theory has really been under fire for the last 6 or 8 years. But you can't know how you feel about something if you're not sure what it is. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about it and putting it in a theological context so that you can decide what you think about it when you hear these things on the news. And I'm glad you're all here today to do this deeper work in community, so come and let us worship here together. We're going to start off with our first hymn, number 389, Gathered Here. We're going to sing it through 3 times. So please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able, and join in singing hymn number 389, 3 times through. During our children's chapel, we tell the children among us what it is the adults are really going to be talking about later. And today we're talking about some ideas about race and racism. And most of you hearing this have been told what race you are, right? It's on your birth certificate. At some point, you may have asked your parents, or they may have told you. But here's the thing we don't talk about. Race isn't really about what skin color you are, right?
Yeah.
We've all met people that when you look at them, you go, well, you're white, right? Well, no, I'm Native American, I'm black, I'm Hispanic. We've seen albino black people. Race is a way to talk about how we think different groups of people act. Now, in big words, we call this a social construct. What that means is it's a made-up way of talking about an idea that we think is right, and it's only true because a group of people say it's true. You know what social constructs are. What color is for boys? Blue. What color is for girls? You hear that all boys are loud and rowdy and all girls are quiet and demure. You know, when you think about it, it just doesn't make as much sense as it used to when people talked about it. So our country today tells us that people succeed or fail based on luck or how hard they work, and it often ignores the fact that black and brown people don't get treated the same as white people a lot of the time, and that's a problem. Another problem is that sometimes people who are not black or brown will only help black and brown people to do well if it benefits them. So they might help a black store owner open a store in the middle of the city, but they might not help them open a store in an all-white neighborhood because it might compete with a white store. Another problem that black and brown people face is what we call storytelling. Our schools tell us the story that they treat everyone the same. And that can be a problem because all the curriculums historically have been designed for white people. Middle-class white people. And people who own houses and rent nice apartments and live with their parents. They're one boy parent and one girl parent, by the way. Well, these stories don't work for all of us. There are folks like me where I'm adopted, and my mother's one color, and my father's another color, and my sister was adopted. Both her parents were the same color. And then my brothers are all sort of adopted, but they're more like fostered. And then my youngest sisters, well, they're only guardianship, so we don't know how to talk about anybody. Because we don't match the story. The last problem we're talking about today is that there are a bunch of laws that we thought would help black and brown people, but have actually helped white people instead. So why are we talking? We're talking about this because you can make a difference. And you can make a difference too, even as kids, by talking to your parents and your grandparents, because we want everyone to be treated fairly and everyone to be given a chance and for them to be able to do the best they can. And your job, even as kids, is to help us teach people that this is important. So that's what we are talking about today, and I'd like to ask you all to help me sing the children out with the words of the Reeb benediction. Offering time in our service, and our offering is always done with a little bit of levity because giving should not hurt. A poor Unitarian found a money clip with $700 in it. And at his church he read a notice saying that a very wealthy congregant had lost his money clip and was offering a $100 reward. He spotted that man and immediately ran to him with the clip, and the rich man counted the money and said, "Well, I see you already took your reward." And the poor man said, "What?" And the man said, "Well, the clip had 800 in it when I lost it." And they began arguing, and eventually they went to the minister for help. Both stated their case, and the rich man said, "I trust you, believe me, Reverend." And the minister said, "Of course," and the rich man smiled, and the poor man was crushed. Then the minister handed the clip to the poor man. "What are you doing?" said the rich man. And the minister answered, "You, of course, are a very honest man. And you say that the clip you lost had $800 in it. I am sure that it did. But if the man who found the clip was a liar and a thief, he wouldn't have returned it at all. Therefore, he must also be an honest man." must belong to someone else. And if that person steps forward, they will get their $700. Until then, it belongs to the man who found it. Well, what about my money? The rich man asked. Well, we'll just have to wait until someone finds a clip with $800 in it. As I have not found any money clips lately, this morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you all so much for everything that you do for the life and the work of this community. You're amazing. We're here today because the church is about that community, not the building. And it's as a community of human hands and human hearts that we come together here and we share our joys and our sorrows, our laughter and our tears. We're entering into a time of sharing joys and concerns. You can raise a hand and someone will bring you a microphone. We ask that you share information only with permission. During Joys and Concerns, I'll light candles for you up here. You can light your own candles before or during any other point in the service. So if you have a joy or a concern to share, please raise a hand. Steve will bring you a microphone.
Hi, I'm Nancy Minaldi Scanlon, and this is a joy, a celebration, and a perfect example of how the church is not the building, but the people. I'm currently in a play over at Venice Theater, and a group of people, I don't even know who they all were, came to see the show, and I just want to say thank you for the support from this community. It's fantastic.
Hi, I'm Serena Canarelli. I promised I won't say a lot. I just forgot to thank a couple of people yesterday at our dinner, so I need to do that because it really kept me awake. Pauline Adams, who helped with sign-ups, Janet Knudsen, who helped with sign-ups, Eileen Leapley, who helped with sign-ups, Paula Hartley helped with sign-ups. Thank you so much. 2 people at the door, Richard Canarelli, Donna Jewett. Did I leave anybody out?
Serena Canarelli, for all that she did. Give it a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May the love of our community hold all those who need love and concern, and may the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we never look away when we're needed. May those who are grieving be comforted, and those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed, and may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant.
The hill we climb by Amanda Gorman. These words were written after the January 6th insurrection by soon-to-be inaugural poet, 22-year-old Amanda Gorman. This is from her poem, The Hill We Climb. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe, now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation and become the future. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the golden hills of the west. We will rise from the windswept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When the day comes, we will step out of the shade of flame unafraid. The new dawn balloons as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. The meditation today is also by Amanda Gorman. New Day's lyric. She wrote, "What was cursed we will cure, what plagued we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. These moments we missed are now these moments we make, the moments we meet, and our hearts once all together, beaten now, all together beat." With these words in mind, please join me in 1 minute of silent meditation, thought, or prayer while Lisa plays an interlude. Thank you, Lisa. Second reading, The Mantra of White Supremacy by Ibrahim X. Is it Kendi or Kendai?
Candy.
Kendi. Ibrahim X. Kendi. White supremacist ideology lives on in what Heather McGhee calls the zero-sum myth. The idea that progress for people of color necessarily comes at white folks' expense. This zero-sum myth erases the past and present of abolitionist and anti-racist movements which have aided ordinary white people. It fearmongers about the future. If white people are not worshipped in schools, then they will be demonized. If white people don't reign supreme, then they will be subjugated. If white people don't hoard resources and opportunities, then they will be starved. If white people cannot kill at will, then they will be killed at will. White violence is presumed to be self-defense. Defending yourself against a white supremacist is presumed to be a criminal act. Extreme fear, perhaps, breeds this extreme fear. White supremacists probably fear revenge, retaliation, the tables turning as they wipe the blood of democracy, of equality, of the dying and dead off their hands. Like the enslavers of old, sleeping with guns under their pillows, they know the level of brutality that they have leveled against people of color and their white allies. They probably can't imagine that indigenous anti-racists just wanted their land back and aren't genocidal. That black anti-racists just want reparations and don't want to enslave. That Asian anti-racists just want to be visible and don't want to render white people invisible. That Latino and Middle Eastern anti-racists just want to flee violence and don't want to invade predominantly white nations. White supremacists are mobilizing against an anti-white army that isn't mobilizing at all, that isn't coming, that isn't there. Then again, if there is an army that is mobilizing, that is coming, that is here, it is made up of white supremacists. Their carnage is here. Their ideology, too. Okay. We'll now turn to hymn number 391, Voice Still and Small. Please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able to join in singing number 391, Voices Still and Small.
Lisa's going to play it all the way through one time so you can hear it, because we haven't done this one often. It's a challenge deciding to talk about CRT in a church, because the first question you get asked is, isn't this political theory rather than theology? Yes, and. It's a political theory that we have to pay attention to, because it hurts people. And there's been a lot of laughter about this one. A few years back, probably 8 years ago, someone asked, can there be racism without racists? And somebody just blundered ahead and said, yes, there can be racism without racist. Look at critical race theory. And that immediately got seized on, especially by Christian nationalists, as a bunch of left-wing hooey. The idea that we're all snowflake libtards, whether we are Republicans who don't happen to be Christian nationalists, or Democrats or independents, we got tarred with the same brush, this idea that we must be foolish if we believe there could be racism without racist. CRT is how there is racism without racists, necessarily. What does that mean? It means that way back, active racists created systems that benefited themselves. Back in the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, systems were created where black people and brown people couldn't do the same things as white people. For all of you who lived through the 40s, the 50s, you remember when there were colored water fountains, when classrooms were not segregated or were not desegregated, when black people had to go to a different bathroom, a different water fountain, a different pool, a different amusement park. Yes, the active racists who wrote the laws were back there. But the systems they created were in and of themselves racist, and they perpetuate. And they perpetuate to the point that people who live today may not even realize that the system gives privilege to white people. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, we're all travelers on a journey. You've heard the phrase life journey. And we all carry metaphorical suitcases filled with things that we picked up and things we think we need. And one of the suitcases that we carry through this journey, some of us in bigger ways, some of us in smaller, but we all carry it. We carry this baggage of white supremacy that's in our culture, and it's ugly. And the outsides of the suitcase have changed over the years. The outside is the part that gets claimed publicly, that we're willing to have people see us carry. From the Mayflower to the civil rights era of the 60s, the outside said some pretty outrageous things. This is from Clements Royer's 1862 preface to Darwin's Origin of Species. Royer wrote, "The races are not distinct species, but quite unequal varieties." She said that natural selection made it clear that superior races are destined to supplant inferior ones, and that one needs to think carefully before claiming political and civic equality among people composed of an Indo-European minority and a Mongolian or Negro majority. Now that's horrible. If we read that today, we'd have a fit. But it was believed at the time. People would not have been ashamed to say something like that publicly. As a country, we had convinced ourselves of manifest destiny. And some of you may have had that in your high school history or civics classes, this idea that especially the white man was destined to rule, right? We were destined to conquer, sweeping aside any inconvenient native people who were in the way when we conquered things. We discovered a lot of things that happened to have people living on them. And there was only one way to be an American, and it involved either having white skin or wishing you did. It involved white Anglo-Saxon culture and values and religious expressions and beliefs. And that ugly suitcase is still around today. It says, "White is right" on the outside. A few years ago at Charleston, it said, "The Jews will not replace us." That was the battle cry there. It's ugly. But good and kind people also have versions of this suitcase, and this is where we get tangled up. These are the micro versions. I don't see color. All colors are the same. Well, yes, and no, really, where are you from? We are a post-racial society. My family never owned slaves. Hey, will you join our board? We need a person of color. It's the same suitcase, it's just the teeny tiny version. And we don't mean it. And this is the first area of the academic theory, critical race theory. This notion that casual racism is normalized in a culture. It's not the weird part, it's the normal part. Our mainstream culture puts forth the idea that we should be totally colorblind and that our country is a meritocracy where people do well or not well based only on their ability. Color blindness says to black or brown people, you're only good if we don't see you as different from white. We don't see your color. We don't see your linguistic structure. You can't be other, or we don't want to deal with it. Meritocracy pretends that our whole culture doesn't have an expectation of white as the neutral. And it ignores the fact that the powerful only give up power when it benefits them. And today in America, the powerful are white. It's woven in so deeply that most of the time we don't see it. And I know, because I had the same reaction. A lot of us are sitting here today thinking, I don't discriminate. Of course you don't. You're good people. There is not one of you in this room that would treat a black or a brown or an indigenous or a queer person any different than you would treat anybody else. I know that to the bottom of my soul because you are good people. But our culture doesn't get it. So let me ask some questions. What color is a flesh tone bandage? If we went to the same hotel, would the shampoo and conditioner that's provided in every room work for both your hair and mine? No. In the food aisles, when you go to the grocery, is your food in an aisle marked ethnic? Or maybe it has the name of a country on it, just in case? Can your child or your grandchild turn on the TV and see people who look like them being doctors and lawyers or judges on more than one show? Can you or your child or your grandchild wear your hair naturally? Or will it violate a dress code? Right now, at best, our overarching culture is willing to give absolutely anybody a chance to be white. And we do it in lesser ways to Appalachians and Southerners. Every time I go into the store and ask for a bag of flour. You know, historically, the UUA and other groups have talked about white privilege. And the closest analog I can get is it's like playing a video game on the average setting. You still have battles to fight. but you can see the game map and you have 5 lives and a sword. Being white means you get given the benefit of the doubt. So the second piece of critical race theory is called interest convergence. Dr. Nicholas Daniel Hartlip writes, Derek Bell's 1980 theory of interest convergence is a critical piece of CRT. Common sense beliefs are formulated by the majority status quo. The beliefs created by the majority, the haves, oppress minority groups. They have nots. They have too littles. More precisely, interest convergence is the notion whites will allow and support racial justice or progress to the extent that there's something positive in it for them, or a convergence between the interest of whites and non-whites. And CRT focuses on telling the public how certain stories act and serve to silence and distort groups of people and cultures, typically people of color. The third piece of critical race theory is the idea that race is only a social construct and that it negatively impacts people of color. What's that mean? Well, it means that we as a group decide what race you are based on some weird stuff. Do any of you remember the 1-drop rule, hearing about it in school? If you have 1 drop of black blood, you are black. In post-World War II restricted suburbs, European ethnics blended together as whites, while minorities were marked by urban poverty or used and then rejected by programs like the Bracero program or Operation Wetback, both of which used brown-skinned people to work until they were not needed and then deported them. Who is black or brown, and how do you know? Because it isn't skin color. How about these actors and musicians? Pete Wentz is Jamaican. Vin Diesel is black. The Rock is Samoan and black. Jason Momoa, indigenous Hawaiian. Olivia Munn is Chinese. Keanu Reeves, indigenous Hawaiian and Chinese. Clark Gable, black and Native American. Alexander Dumas, black. St. Augustine, black. St. Nicholas, black. Our race is decided by our society and based on whether or not you look and act white. The fourth pillar of critical race theory is the idea of storytelling and counter-storytelling. What's that mean? What children are taught in schools is based on white, middle-class, mainstream values, and kids get told the story that this is the normal way to be. Because of this, a lot of stories and experiences are not shared unless there is counter-storytelling deliberately designed to bring forward other experiences. Hollanday says, white skin privilege creates significant advantage for white people. And there are scores of things that white people don't encounter. He said, for example, my skin color does not work against me in terms of how people perceive my financial responsibility, style of dress, public speaking skill, or job performance. People do not assume I got where I am professionally because of my race or affirmative action. Store security and law enforcement officers don't harass me, pull me over, or follow me because of race. And all these things are things I never have to think about. And when the tables get turned, I get indignant, Hollanday writes. My cousin Erica is black. She and I drive the same vehicle. We both have a black SUV about the same year. She is visibly black with dark skin. She came to Wisconsin to interview for a job with my church. Lovely people. They loved her. She loved the church. Our cars look identical. She is a safer driver than I am. I have a lead foot. On the way home from interviewing at my church, she was stopped not once, not twice, but 4 times. They thought she had a light out. She didn't. She was going 3 miles over the speed limit. They thought her windshield wiper was off. It wasn't. And one wanted to warn her that they thought she was driving recklessly. All this was within 2 miles of where I lived, where I had never been stopped. The stories we tell. The final piece of CRT is the idea that whites have been the recipients of civil rights legislation, even though they did not mean to be. Legislation has taken us from legal separation of the races to de facto segregation due to white flight to avoid becoming minorities in any area. So 5 tenets, 5 things that are being taught. Racism is ordinary. The idea of interest convergence. The idea of the social construct of race. Storytelling and counter-storytelling. And whites have accidentally been recipients of civil rights legislation. And this is what people across our country are fighting to keep children from hearing. The theory has been called evil, Black Panther indoctrination. That one always is. And much worse. And even in our own churches, there have been some calls against even hearing CRT. If we really believe in individual worth and dignity, you need to at least hear the theories and decide for yourself how you feel about them. It doesn't say that we're bad. It says that white supremacy is ugly and it's time to put it down and do better. It says it's time to grow and to change our lens. It's time to explore liberation. It's time to take that suitcase full of ugly, dump it out, burn it, and scatter the ashes to the wind. Educate yourselves. In the words of Bernice Johnson Reagan, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, as is important as the killing of white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. And it's time to get up from our nap and study up and decide what it is we believe so that we continue to do the work of living up to our principles. Thank you so much for listening. Amen. We extinguish the chalice, but we know that its fire will continue to burn away all that we want to let go of. Now we are bravely going to try number 1017, Building a New Way. The choir has practiced it. We're going to get this. So please rise in body or spirit as you are willing, and join boldly in singing number 1017. We are building a new way. Wait. That was awesome. Get ready, we're gonna start. Here we go. Get ready. You got this. Today and every day, may you help to build a new way. Peace, ashe, and may it be so. We're going to do May Love Surround You. Just remember to all stay facing this way. So please get coffee and a snack and wander back in if you want to be part of the discussion about what that amendment is. We will have a Zoom room open tonight. You got an email about this. We're going to have a Zoom room open from 7 to 8 tonight. You can just come in and vote and go right back out.
If you like the 7th principles and you want to keep them around, you want to go online and vote.